Warren speaking.
Warren Sawkiw. You know what I was going to do? A funny voice. I was going to try to do a metal voice where he goes, "Hey, man, it's David Lee Roth." Woo! But I didn't, and we're great that, by the way, we're live on the show. What a professional move that was. Hey, great to talk to you, Warren. How you doing this morning?
I am doing fabulous, Mike and David. Always, you know what? You bring a smile to my face whenever you call, so thank you very much.
Well, I was going to play, because I'm not sure if you can hear music on the other end when we do this. Can you hear this?
Well,
no, you probably can't. It doesn't matter anyways because it's terrible. I was going to play. And here's before we get to Major League Baseball. Here's a band that for some reason I don't know why we talked about it like so briefly beforehand, but for some reason I'm listening to a lot of Tesla. Their songbook is pretty big. They have more songs than I probably gave them credit for. What do you think of Tesla?
Oh, yeah. I think we talked, didn't we?
Yeah,
Tesla versus Cinderella last time. We talked about who are the better artists, like pure artists. I was always a big Tesla fan. I never saw them live. I wish I had of.
Yeah.
I you know what? Like you said, there's just those songs that they had a mix where they could go deep and heavy, but then they could do the ballad, right? That nice metal ballad that everybody enjoys a good metal ballad every once in a while, and that's kind of what I liked about them. They were they were versatile, shall we say, Mike? Yeah,
they were. Now, speaking of versatility, the giant known as Aaron Judge, who was even bigger last night, and I look at these great stories from Major League Baseball, and there has been a lot in terms of rookies this year, but the show that he is putting on right now, and of course I know that we're going to talk about Bellinger too from the Dodgers, but right now it's been a long time since I've sort of felt even almost emotionally attached to a guy, specifically a Yankee. But you know what? He's doing everything, and as they like to say in sports now, Warren, he's doing it the right way. This guy's got an incredible future.
Yeah, he's taken the baton from Derek Jeter, hasn't he? And he's really, for a young player, moved it forward. Very approachable. Seems to always give the right answer, but not in a disingenuous way. I think he really is a really good person. And boy, like the power to me is unbelievable. That pitch that he hit last night, that line drive home run, the way he pulled his hands inside and used the bat speed to get to the ball, it just textbook hitting. And when you start to go 50 plus home runs in a season, and you not only do that with the bat, but you saw what he did with the defense. The crashing into the wall, the dive out in front of him. A real athlete. Like you think about the great athletes in the game, and you remember the former Jay and former Yankee and Dave Winfield. Great athleticism. Remember, I think he could have gone to University of Minnesota on 3 different sports.
Yeah, that's right.
That type of athleticism, right? They're very rare. Ken Griffey, to me, was one that I always looked, when I was coming up through the systems, and said, "Boy, there's a pure athlete." That's what you have in Aaron Judge, and I think the game is getting even better and better, and you're starting to see more and more good young athletes, almost like I said, with a multi-sport discipline, but choosing to pick baseball. And boy, is he ever, hey, the Yankees needed that victory in a big way, and they certainly got it. He was a big catalyst.
Hey, Warren, good to talk to you this morning. I had a question about the size of a major league player. When you see Aaron Judge, 6'7", almost 285 pounds, he kind of looks like a tight end, maybe even like a professional wrestler. What's the biggest guy you've ever played with in your baseball career? Because you've seen a lot of different stops in North America here, and a lot of different places. But what are some of the bigger guys you faced? Because I'm not sure if you hit one Aaron Judge's size, because back in our day kind of thing, and you and I are much alike, there weren't 7-foot baseball players that ran like they were 5'11" or 6 even, were there?
No. The one that really sticks in my mind, and I remember playing against him in the Cape Cod. It was my first time. So Cape Cod League, for those who don't know, wood bat league for the amateur and the college ranks. So when you play your college or university season, you need somewhere to go in the summer, and the top players across North America would either go to the Jayhawk League, the Alaskan League, or the ultimate one, which was wood bats, was the Cape Cod League. So I remember stepping in, I guess I'm not sure whether that was 88 or 89, and who am I facing, standing down at third base, but the big hurt Frank Thomas out of Auburn University. And I can tell you, like, there's a few players in my day that, Omar Linares, who played for Cuba, you might remember the name. He was a standout, much like Yulieski Gurriel. He was the Gurriel of the Cuban team, Linares, back, in those 80s days. The Jays actually wanted to sign him and have him only play out of Cuba and come and just play Canadian games. But there were two players that, Linares and then Frank Thomas, and I must have been standing back on the grass, back behind the dirt at third base with this hulking football player that we heard all about down in Orleans. He played for Orleans, which is right kind of the tip of Cape Cod. And boy, like I had never seen anything. And I went to a decent football school and baseball school at Wake Forest. But when you see, a Division I Southeast Conference football player stepping up to the plate with those arms and those tree trunk legs, you're like, wow, this guy, like, where do they make these guys? Because, I certainly didn't have it at 5'10", 180 back in the day. So, yeah. Frank Thomas would be the biggest, and then maybe Mo Vaughn, but I would say Frank Thomas.
Well, and again, it's just sort of, I look at the level of athleticism that you see in baseball. This is certainly not. It goes with any sport too. It's just the way that athletes look after themselves. But if I'm looking at this crop of rookies, and we just mentioned, obviously we talked about the Aaron Judge, but I'm looking at Bellinger too. The actual technique that they have at the plate, the way they swing that bat, it reminds me of, again, when I sort of coordinate other sports, or it transcends to almost the mechanics of another sport. When Ernie Els gets up there and some of these guys who have the smoothest swings, these guys don't come out of their boots when they're going after the ball. And Bellinger's the same way. And look, I still think that Aaron Judge probably is the superior player in both of those. But it doesn't take away from just some of these guys who are coming up from, a lot of them from college, that have these swings. Are we seeing a change somehow fundamentally how these players are actually being taught the game of baseball?
Well, there's no doubt that it's all or nothing now, guys, too, right? The strikeouts can be pretty high, too. So if you're a bit of a purist, I hated striking out, so you can see the difference now. These guys don't mind striking out. Look at Judge and Gary Sanchez. I think it was something like 4 for 40 prior to breaking out, in the series prior to breaking out, yesterday for Judge especially. I think the one thing I've noticed, and I watched, I think it was the All-Star game, I started to see some of the analytics behind and some of the sports, I guess one of the sports physics shows kind of analyzed the top swings in baseball, and they were looking at the different lever points, and Giancarlo Stanton has amazing leg strength. His power is derived from his legs. And when you look at him and you see that spread out stance, how he kind of actually changed his stance a bit, opened up a little bit, and widened out, his leg power is unbelievable compared to most others. So you can see where he generates the bat speed and the arms, and really the length that Aaron Judge gets. Those were his key defining areas, and it was that ability to get the bat speed through. And we're talking, it's almost like superhuman what they're able to do. But, hey, it's nutrition. And players don't come to spring training any longer to get in shape. They're already in full shape in the off season. Some are playing winter ball. These guys are ready. They're poised. So it is a different game. These guys are beasts, and, they take great care of their body because look at the payoff. The payoff's multi-billion-dollar contract, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. We're in conversation with Warren Sawkiw, baseball insider, joining us here on Raw. Mike Richards. The actual series, both of them go on tonight. The first game starts just after 5. The second one at 9 o'clock. That's the one in Chicago. Let's talk about the first series between the Yankees and the Astros. You and I were going back and forth yesterday on text, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm kind of pulling for the Astros. It's a nice story. I think they have a fantastic team 1 through 9, and Mike and I talked about this yesterday, but acquiring Justin Verlander may have been the trade of the last 4 or 5 years in baseball just because of what it means to the Astros at the top of that rotation. Is there anybody better right now in baseball than those two? And yes, I'm including the Dodgers in it right now. Would you rather have anybody at 1-2 than Verlander and Dallas Keuchel?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. And that to me, if you're Houston, that's your saving grace, because you're going with Lance McCullers Jr. Today against Sonny Gray, and I saw Sonny Gray twice already take on the Jays, and he, to me, solid, serviceable pitcher, but nothing outstanding. McCullers, 4.25 ERA. Even though he's got a solid win-to-loss ratio, 7-4, I still look at those two. You need great starting pitching. You need a great bullpen, and this is the trade-off between these two teams. Is that when you look at the starting pitching of Houston, those top two studs of Keuchel and Verlander, you're right. It doesn't. They both have huge swing and miss potential. Now you compare it with the bullpen of the Yankees, and you figure their starters just need to get to their bullpen, and they can carry them through. We saw it in that Cleveland series. I mean, they are unreal. And this is what's making this so nice, is that the wily veteran now, CC Sabathia, he's put the weight back on, and he gives him a great outing yesterday and last night. I mean, it was just, to see him do that, and I remember those days when he was almost no-hitting in Cleveland, and now to think that he's doing it, but it's no longer the dominating power pitcher. He's really finessing and pitching. So, yes, I love the 1 and 2 of Houston, and that's what I think makes this so beautiful, is that they've got that dominant starting pitching, especially at the top, and the Yankees have this dominant bullpen. What are the offenses going to do? And, guys, Houston, they've scored, 4 or 5 runs now in 3 games? I think they've been held to under 3 runs in 3 consecutive games. That maybe happened once this year to Houston. That's crazy. As good as that offense is.
Well, you just mentioned CC Sabathia. By the way, he's almost like the comeback player of the year, is he not? He's got to be very close to it.
Yeah, I would listen. What he's battled, the drug and alcohol and all that. I think he looks better. He put the weight back on. Remember, he lost all that weight. I just think
he's better big.
What he was.
He's better big.
Yeah, he is better big.
Yu Darvish, what can we expect out of him? I mean, obviously that was a very big move during the season, but with Yu Darvish, it's always usually about the health. And we know what the skill set was coming into from Japan, but I don't know necessarily in long stretches of health what you're going to get out of Yu Darvish, because there's kind of the good Yu Darvish and the really bad Yu Darvish.
Yeah, most of the individuals coming out of Japan have exceptional capabilities to from a physical dexterity. They usually are in great shape. They're usually, the stretching and that. But my days facing any Japanese teams or players is they have, the great capability to. I would say use their body and use that discipline of the Japanese baseball and the almost the samurai mentality. And that's one thing that, it's not lost, but Yu Darvish now has been, in North America playing at the major level for quite a while. When you look at his postseason stats, it's nothing really to write home about. He's 1 and 2 with a north of 4 ERA. And, that kind of surprises you, because I look at someone who knows how to repeat his delivery and knows how with the split finger, combination on that fastball and then mixing and matching. I've always liked what I saw in him, but you're right. The injuries have really hampered him. And I think, though, the one thing is this LA team has, they got a real feel around them that I think is different than last year when they faced the Cubs. I think when you look at the two teams, I see a reversal. I see a Cubs team that's exhausted, especially that long flight after winning that series against Washington. They had to expound a lot of energy to beat Washington. Then they had to fly over. They had that delay because of one of the family members was sick, so they had to stop. It was about a 10-hour journey. They looked exhausted. So I'll be interested to see, whereas LA looks just so primed. They look so poised. Justin Turner's home run was absolutely, on the same day that Kirk Gibson did it 29 years prior, that walk-off home run. It's just amazing. I guess I have a feeling that, LA, it's kind of their time, their destiny right now. And I think you got to feel good with Darvish on the road because he is a veteran and he's going into Wrigley. And that's always one thing on the road. I like to have a veteran pitcher who's not intimidated by the crowd and by all the ambiance, and it's going to be crazy in Wrigley tonight, but I think Darvish has a good calming influence for this Dodgers team.
Hey, Warren, thanks so much for joining us here this morning. Always appreciate it. One day we'll have to get you in the studio. We got to get you in the studio. We're in a bar,
I would love it.
Yep.
You tell Bastel's got my new number now. You call it anytime, boys. I'd love to come see you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Warren.
Thanks,
take care.
Warren.
That is Warren Sawkiw.
Okay, boys.
Yep, there he is
care.
right there. And he has joined us here on rawmicrichards.com.
What? We just become best friends? Yep.